Welcome to the What the Podcast, where anything can happen. The hosts and guests remain anonymous to protect the innocent and the guilty. The views and opinions shared here are not the views and opinions of the sponsors, but they should be.
Soccer, Grump. How you doing,
What's
boys?
up? What up?
Splendid.
Well, we
Coming
are
at you
back,
live from Middle Tennessee.
and we are back, and we are ready to record another episode. First episode went so well, we all decided we'd actually try it again. So this is big episode two. So in episode one, Grump was saying that he has a couple of things he wanted to add about empty nesters. So Grump, have at it.
Sort
Man,
of
I
getting
tell you
some
what,
stuff off his chest, right?
yeah, there's a lot there, man. I'm telling you, that's a chest dump for sure. I think there's probably two sides of this story, and one both worth discussing. We've got a generational problem with our teenagers and early 20s. Um,
Oh, hell.
where the social media and the cell phones have, I think, literally taken 6 years or more from their maturity from a social standpoint, and have filled them with anxiety and talking to people, and getting out in the real world and functioning. So, now, I'll preface, my bottom line of the whole thing with, I have two girls, and raising girls,
Well, bless your
um,
heart.
yeah, was great up until about 13 or 14. They loved me. They couldn't wait for daddy to come home. They sit in my lap, just hugging and, loving, and just loved it. Loved having little girls in my life. And then it went straight to hell at 13. And I couldn't sugarcoat exactly the right way at exactly the right time on exactly the right topic to get it over to the other side.
Okay, but
And that
wait,
that
before you go any
proved
further, hang on. Before you go any further, I got to know. You said 13, but what specifically happened when you went, oh shit? Because I know what my oh shit moment was because I have a daughter and a son. But what was the moment, Grump?
Yeah.
uh, probably when communication resulted in having to go to counseling. That that would be the answer. You know,
Was it
I, you
her
know,
or
I
you in counseling?
oh, yeah, it was both of us just trying to communicate. I mean, I'm using English. It's not like I'm, have made up a language and then it wasn't pig Latin. That would be too difficult for them to understand. It wasn't anything particularly special. It was just communication in general that just seemed to get met with such opposition that was so senseless and ungrounded that I just remained befuddled by the whole thing. And I tried different things, and I don't know, I didn't see that coming. I thought English, would be the language that we could use. And what I'm saying is not particularly offensive or anything. It was just, hey, I look at my kids like, bank accounts. You got to invest in them. You got to put money in them. You got to put time in them. You got to communicate the things, and I want them to be prepared for real life so that they're not beat up senselessly. But just the willing to listen to that and hear it for what it is just was completely absent. And it leads me to another point. Because I used to tell folks, "Oh, girls, they're just so great. I love them," and then that flipped on me. And then I went to, well, if I'd had any boys, it'd been a hell of a lot easier because that's protocol for raising boys is you beat the hell out of them and send them on their way. And that's just how it works. It's how it worked for me. I'm mirroring a lot of the things that we tend to mirror our parents and mirror that generation. But yeah, I didn't like it, and the hell beat out of me, but it worked, you know. And
That's
so
debatable.
I'm just I'm at a loss so often. So anyway, so that whole thing basically just sort of ended with my mission is for these kids to be on their own and not be codependents until 26, where they can no longer be insured But I hear story after story after story of that generation, Gen Z and late millennials, that are squatting wherever they can squat within the family. Get kicked out of their immediate family, they go live with the grandparents. I mean, where's your dignity? That wasn't an option in my head. I was going to make it. I couldn't wait to make it. I mean, I was out the door as soon as I could be. Where's your dignity? Where's your grit? Where's your oomph in life to go make it for yourself? Oh no, we hate America. America's not great. No, America's got all the freedom you could possibly have. You're free to sit on your ass, or you're free to go make a difference. And the problem is motivation. And so, to answer the motivation issue for me, I simply stated that upon graduation from college, I was going to burn the house down, and there's no coming back. So you can either live on a bridge, or, squat with somebody that'll let you squat there, but you're not living here. So plan accordingly.
Burn the house down. I can tell you
Burn it.
with our daughter, I remember the moment in time when I went from thinking, you know, not only do we need mom and dad, we need an exorcist. She was 11 years old. We're having dinner at the kitchen table, and all of a sudden she burst into tears and ran out of the room. And when she ran out of the room, I looked at my bride and I said, "What just happened?" And she shrugged her shoulders, said, "I have no idea." And we found out
Finish.
sometime we found out sometime later exactly what happened, and it had zero to do with any of us sitting at the kitchen table. It had zero to do with the meal. It had zero to do with anything, except she had a moment when all of a sudden in her head she decided she was never going to have boobs, and that's what caused this explosion at 11 years of age. And
Sounds
she
about
doesn't
right.
have that problem. Not now.
And
But that
now,
was the moment.
if she had looked across the table at mom, she would have realized likely I'm going to have boobs, right?
Yes, yes, a blessed woman. Yes.
But something about the small mounds of sweet potatoes on her plate steered her off track.
I have no idea. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
so a guy I worked with, it was shortly after that, a guy I worked with, I said to him one day, I said, "Hey, let me ask you a question." I said, "You've got grown girls, don't you?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I've got three of them." And I said, "How old are they?" And he said, "Oh," and I can't remember. They were like between 25 and like 32 or something like that. And I said, "You raised all three of them." And I said, "I need to know, what's the secret? What's the secret?" And he took a bite of food. We were sitting there at a table eating. He took a bite of food, thought about it for a second. He said, "Don't speak unless spoken to." I said, "What?" He said, "Yep." He said, "That's how I made it to this ripe old age, is I made up my mind I wasn't speaking unless spoken to. If they wanted to talk, we would talk until they were sick of talking. But if they didn't want to talk, that's fine. We didn't talk. We would sit in utter silence." He said, "But I've got a good relationship with my daughters."
That's pretty good takeaway.
Yeah, I
That's
Now,
thought so. I
wisdom.
liked it.
I'm on the outside looking in since we just have boys. So I always said though, boy, if I had two or three girls in place of the boys, I'd be a good golfer. That's all I know. I'd be out of the house doing something.
Yeah, that's a very true statement. Absolutely. So, burn the house down. I mean, that's pretty solid. I mean, that's a commitment.
Well, we looked at our USAA policy and we updated it. So I'm covered to rebuild, um, which is a common mistake. People really don't check that. And over the years, obviously, everything gets more expensive. And if I had burned the house down without that, we probably, built back half the house. But I'm covered now. So um, let her go,
I
man. I
mean,
got a half a dozen things I'd remove.
truth be told, Grump, you don't need as many rooms when you build it back, right? You just need a
Yeah.
master. That solves a
Yeah.
lot of issues.
It does indeed. Yeah, the
Yeah,
empty nest thing.
but he's gonna need the money for the insurance fraud defense.
That's a
Yeah,
good
he's
point,
gonna have
Barty.
to have money.
Um, yeah, I
His
hadn't
wheels are
thought of that
turning.
part yet. But yeah, we'll figure that out. Yeah, that's a good point. Not sure I have a retort for that.
This has never crossed your mind, seriously. You never crossed your mind that, if I burn my own house down and I file an insurance claim, that might be fraudulent.
No, I was focused strictly on the burning down part. That would be the most fun part. And I'm a guy who goes with the fun.
Yeah, insurance story. Our son rides motorcycles, and
Mm.
he called me one morning early. I hadn't even made it to the office yet, but he went to work about 30 minutes before I did, and he called me. And when I answered the phone, I mean, it's literally like 7:20 in the morning or 7:15 in the morning. He said, "Hey, Dad, I'm okay." That's never how you want to start a conversation with your kids. You just don't. I mean, even though they said they're okay, you don't want that conversation. He said, "I'm okay." And I said, "All right, well, tell me the rest of this story." He said, "Well, I'm on the side of the interstate, and my motorcycle exploded." And I said, "What do you mean it
Exploded.
exploded?" He said, "Well, I heard this loud pop and it stopped running. So I pulled the clutch and coasted over to the side." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "I crossed 3 lanes of traffic." And I'm like, "Oh my God." But anyway, so he is safely on the side of the interstate. He says, "Can you come pick me up? I'm going to leave my bike here. I need you to take me to go grab my truck so I can get to work." I was like, "Yeah, that's fine. I'm on the way." So I get over there and I pick him up. And sure enough, his motorcycle's leaking oil. It's a disaster. And so we are riding in the truck down the interstate, heading towards his apartment to get his truck. And he says, and I said, this isn't good. Um, I'm gonna have to get the bike fixed." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "You are gonna have to get it fixed." He said, "But it doesn't matter. I have insurance." And I'm riding
Whoops.
down the road looking forward, and I turned to the right and looked at him and said, "So tell me about this insurance you have." And he says, "Well, yeah, I've got insurance." I can't remember if it was Progressive, Geico, whatever it was. He said, "I've got insurance." And I said, "Yeah, you're a young man, so maybe this is a good time to have a conversation about insurance and just maybe a little educational moment." And I said, "There's two types of insurance. There's comprehensive and there's collision." And I explained the two types. And I said, "What you're referring to isn't either of those. That would be mechanical insurance." And I said, "You may want to make a phone call and check on your mechanical insurance." And he just does this blank stare out the front windshield of my truck. And I drop him off anyway. About an hour later, he calls me. He goes, "Dad, I don't have mechanical insurance." So, no, no, you don't. Life lesson. That's exactly the shit
Yeah.
they don't teach you in high school, which pisses me off. That's the stuff you should be learning in high school. How does insurance work? How do other things work? I mean, good gosh. Ah, frustrating. But yeah,
Yeah.
avoid the insurance fraud, Jared.
Hard, hard
All
learning.
right. Yep.
Hard learning.
Yes, it
I think it
is.
fits in with
Well, I
so
did
many of the
have a
topics, though. Back to I'll say back to Grump's opening points. I mean, I think teaching some of the young folks some of the basics, like what is insurance? What are you doing in April 15th? What does that mean? What are taxes? How to set up
Yeah.
your withholding, how to tie a tie, how to balance a bank account. Some
how
basics that
to
just don't
address an
get taught.
envelope. I mean, good
There's a
Lord,
good
Yeah.
they
one.
don't know how to address an
Yeah.
envelope. No,
Yeah. And
absolutely.
the
That
only way
stuff's
to
got to be
solve
taught.
the only way to solve that problem is to make a TikTok about it and hope that the algorithm reaches these people.
Yeah, true. I did have a proud dad
Otherwise they
moment,
don't get it.
though. Yeah. I did have a proud dad moment about 2 weeks ago. Of course, Father's Day rolls around, and our daughter gave me a shirt for Father's Day. And I open this sucker up and look at it. And it is a very cool shirt that says Gulf of America. And
Yep.
I thought, you know what? Of all the mistakes I've made as a parent, I did something right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
And,
you, you did
you
with
know,
Barty Jr. too, because he's hardcore. I love that kid.
oh my God, he makes me look liberal compared to how that kid is. But anyway, so the proud moment though was that how far she has come because she's a young lady in her late 20s now. But earlier in her, right about the time she was like 20, 21, something like that, she makes an announcement to me and her mom that she has become an anti-vaxxer and she is not going to vaccinate her future children. And I am sitting there, and thankfully, I've got pretty good poker face at this point. I mean, you raise two kids and work in large organizations long enough, you develop a poker face. And so I keep my poker face. Well, my bride is freaking out. She is freaking out about this. And I'm trying to get her to calm down. Well, it's not working. I can't calm her down. So a day or two goes by, and she looks at me and she says, I cannot believe you're not more upset about this. And I said, I'm not. I said, it's okay. She said, it's not okay. I said, it is okay because I have a plan. And she said, plan? What kind of plan do you have? And I said, well, I said, okay, one day when we do have grandchildren, I said, do you think we will have a healthcare power of attorney? She said, well, I'm sure we would have a healthcare power of attorney. I said, uh-huh. And we're going to make a trip to the doctor's office. I said, I will take care of this vaccination issue. She said, you can't do that. I said, oh, I will. I will. I'll take care of it. It's
It's
not
not
as
going to
bad
go
as
over
burn
well.
down the house.
Extreme situations call for extreme measures.
I did another airline story. Speaking of your shirt, though, and I saw that shirt this weekend actually in a store and a hat. They're flying all around now. I saw a lady though getting on a plane about a week ago, and she was decked out like it was 4th of July. I mean, she had the white shoes, the like stars and striped socks, these red short shorts, some kind of America shirt and a Gulf of America hat on. And I thought, this lady is just looking for a fight, getting up on an airplane right this minute. Like I'm all about it, and you know my stance on these things, but I'm not sure getting walking down the aisle of a crowded airplane's the right spot for this right now.
Yeah, but you've seen the videos, right, of the liberal meltdowns on airplanes.
Oh yeah, maybe she was
Tell me
just
you don't
provoking
enjoy
one.
those.
Nothing
Well,
surprises me on the plane videos.
and I'll have just a brief rant about this whole Gulf of America thing because I know that there is a faction of people that hate the orange-headed man, and they're just going to be mad about whatever he says. I kind of get that, but to say that Gulf of America is not appropriate. It's got to stay Gulf of Mexico. Well, number one, it's insane because we didn't call it the Gulf of the United States. It's the Gulf of America. What is around the Gulf of America on three sides is North America, Central America, and South America. So the Gulf of America,
Right.
number one, makes a hell of a lot of sense. Um, but the second piece is international law. International law says that the country to the north of a body of water that is considered international water, the naming rights of that body of water belong to the country to the north of the body of water.
Perfect.
So what the hell? Why are we arguing with this? The whole thing's just
It's
freaking bizarre
TDS.
to me.
Yeah, it's TDS. It's alive and well and um, prominent. Doesn't matter what the law says. Doesn't matter what logic is. Doesn't matter common sense. It just means I hate anything Trump does.
Yeah.
And I'll add this: I've got a coastal property that I rent, and in that description, I took much joy in changing the references in that description to the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and I've gotten two comments from renters giving me the thumbs up. Love it. So yeah,
Well, and it'll keep out the riffraff.
yeah, hopefully so. Yeah, they can go somewhere else. Don't need the rental.
Leave your drama with the llama, right?
That's right. That's right.
But our entire country, though, we've lost we've lost this ability to have civil discording disagreements. I don't know how we I don't know how we finally reached this point where if somebody disagrees with me, I hate them. Where did that come from? We didn't grow up that way. I
No,
mean, we didn't have,
I tell you, it came from the left. It came from the party of we love everybody, no matter what your struggle is. That's where it came from. That's
yeah,
the irony that I absolutely love. The most hateful people on the planet are the ones that say we love everybody. We love you until you don't agree with us, and then we
yeah.
hate you. Then we move to cancel you. Then we do everything we can to destroy your business, your family, your streets, everything. And that alone should make a lot of people take pause. So what group of people are you really aligning with? And
Should
you
we
need to
should we
distinguish
make
the difference between fact and feeling, because you feel a particular way doesn't make it true, doesn't make it factual. And that's the platform, that's the foundation of the ludicrous. Let's make laws for the
yeah.
exception rather than the vast majority, the norm. Let's change all the laws to reflect on 3%. Makes no sense.
Part of
Wait,
it is
that's
just that
actually
the sane people um, are have to work, and so we only have a limited amount of time to get in this conversation and and go through the facts, and then we move along and go back to work, and let those people continue to get paid and act like idiots.
Exactly.
that's true. Well, how Joe
Nailed it.
Rogan got so popular. And he grew in popularity, and his podcast is like one of the most listened to podcasts in the world. He is one of the most influential public figures now because of his podcast. But how he got popular just a little bit organically over time. But what put him on the map is when certain individuals decided it was time to cancel him because they didn't like something he said, and it was over the COVID vaccines. He actually came out and said, I am not in favor. And he got the first COVID shot, the first round of COVID shots he got. But then the more he started thinking about it and looking at it and reading data and doing research and talking to people, he realized that he just didn't feel good about this. He didn't feel like that was what needed to be done. And certain parties decided it was time to cancel Joe Rogan, and they attacked him.
Mm.
And his active listeners increased from, like, I can't remember what the number was. Like, let's just say it was 1 million people listened to his podcast. His podcast grew from 1 million to 3 million overnight. They tried to cancel him and eliminate him, and they turned him into one of the most influential conservative voices on the planet. It's fascinating how that backfires over and over again, but let's just try it again.
Yeah. Well, again, there's no logic on the left. So if it failed the first time, oh, let's try it again. Fails again. Okay. Well, let's try it again. They don't think.
Yeah. I
It's
wonder
just
how many
lack of common
episodes we're
sense.
gonna publish before somebody tries to cancel us. It'll happen.
I mean, yeah, cancel it, baby. Yeah, I mean, I just, it's not going to change facts. It doesn't change common sense. It doesn't change the foundation by which you should live, regardless of religion. Just use your brain, make sense, do smart things, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And it's example after example after example. Just keeps going. And I don't get it.
You're sa- you're sounding too logical. Stop.
I know. And of course, we had a great first episode, and now we're getting all serious. But I mean, I don't know. This is just, these are my frustrations. And I think that there's y'all's as well, and a whole lot of other people, which was exemplified by the last election. I mean, we're just kind of sick of the bullshit. And it has to find its place. It needs to go sit in the corner and shut the hell up.
Yep.
That's my unfiltered,
Absolutely. Let's move
unbridled
on to
opinion.
I like it. I like it. All right, Shocker. I know you spend a fair amount of time on airplanes, and you brought up fly fishing vest guy. I need to hear your favorite in flight or in airport story. What's the best thing you've seen or
Oh,
heard?
I may have to take a rain check on that because you threw that one from left field at me.
I
Um,
know, but I want to hear it.
I saw a video the other day of
yeah,
a guy trying to board a plane with his giraffe, his emotional support giraffe.
Is this
Yeah,
a
I mean, it
real
was funny
giraffe
because they
or
were
is it a
they were
stuffed giraffe?
struggling to get the giraffe in the cabin. I mean, at some point, somebody's got to stop the lunacy.
Well,
Yeah,
that
I'll see if
woman
I can
on the
find it and send it to
Southwest
you.
flight last year. Okay. Well, the woman on the Southwest flight last year that got so upset about something and started taking all of her clothes
oh
off.
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
topless.
that
Yeah,
was that was crazy. So she takes her clothes off, and of course, me being me, all I can think of is there was some dude like 6 rows back watching this whole thing, holding a bourbon and thinking, "Is this free?"
yeah, yeah. Trying to pull ones out of his pocket.
They keep talking
Oh
about
boy.
cutting back amenities on flights, but this is all right.
Yeah, this is goes on my list of things that never happened to me.
The thing that's crazy, and this is not a funny story, it's just shocking, I think. Like the people that get on planes and can't figure out the letters and numbers on the rows of seats. And one they get on and roam down the aisle, and there's 57 people in line behind them waiting, trying to get on to put luggage away and all. We've got this issue where no one wants to check bags anymore, me included. Um, so everyone has bags, so they're begging people to check bags. Now everyone's getting on trying to put bags away. And then you got some buffoon who's coming down the aisle, doesn't have their boarding pass out, and so their phone's now timed out. They're scrolling trying to find out what their seat number is. And then, oh, by the way, they can't figure out 27 A, B, C, D, E, F. What does that mean? I mean, like, how did you even get to the airport today?
Dude, how about the
But
guy who sits mid-plane who thinks that when it's time to deplane that he can run up to the
Oh,
front of the line? You want to
oh, I
sucker
had it
punch that
today.
guy?
No, I
Yeah,
had it
dude.
today. And look, I get it. Sometimes we've got a delayed flight and we've got 15 minutes to make the connector. And if I'm in that role, I'm going to say, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm that guy right now trying to make it 15 minutes. And look, sometimes people will try that, and you'll hear people throw an elbow and say, "Me too. Shut the hell up." I mean, people will guard their ground and not let you move forward. There were two people on the flight today that came right up and they hit a roadblock next to my aisle. Well, of course they couldn't go any farther. And the one guy was like about to crawl in the aisle across from me to try to bypass one person in the aisle. He had his knee like up on the armrest, peeking around like, "Where do you think you're going?" And then of course they couldn't move. So when it came time for our row to get up, I'm watching the couple next to me. They're like, Oh hell no! And you see them get up and they set a freaking pick like an NFL team in the Pro Bowl. I mean, that guy looked at him like, I guess they don't want me to, keep moving. But I mean, look, we don't want you busting up through the aisle. Learn the common flying courtesy here,
Well,
Yeah,
it's that
beginning with
whole
absolutely.
learning your
philosophy.
alphabet and
Yeah, but it's a whole philosophy of, I mean, eh, why am I in more of a hurry than anybody else? Everybody's got somewhere else to be. Nobody wants to be on the freaking plane when it is landed, it's at the gate, and you're waiting to get off the freaking plane. Nobody wants to be on that plane. Nobody.
yeah.
My
Yeah,
favorite
but I mean,
is, you've got to make all these special accommodations for everybody. I mean, it's just like, holy cow. I mean, boarding a plane now is fascinating because there are 17 special groups that have to board the plane first. And it's,
Oh
what
yeah.
are we doing?
Oh,
What
I've
are we
thought about
doing?
yeah.
either just eating a lot so I can get on first, because I have no other condition except that I eat a lot, or I'm just gonna start carrying crutches around, some little foldable carry-on crutches that I can whip out when it's time. Like there's a bunch of BS. There's a bunch of, and here's what I love. Like I'll see that I was on a flight a couple weeks ago, and there must have been like a dozen people in the roll-up chairs, right? And they only have like two people in the airport that are going to help these people get on planes. So they're stacked up like setting up for the NASCAR pole, right? And which Talladega Nights, by the way, is like something about the guy getting on the pole. He's like, no, nothing against his,
And
his
no reference to
sexual
his sexual
orientation
preference.
here. Yeah, yeah, it's so good. I saw that
Not
yesterday.
that there's
Such a
anything
good
wrong with
movie.
that.
Yeah,
Sitting
not
on
that there's
top of the
anything wrong with
pole.
that. Yeah, that's it. Such a good movie. So they're lined up. Well, I mean, these two folks are having to run up and down the plane, put them on, roll that chair back out. Well, oh, by the way, if Meemaw is in the chair, Meemaw and her children and their 14
Yeah, they
grandchildren
all get
are all
on
now
too.
blessed enough to get on with Meemaw. Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're wreaking havoc, like cooking up in the aisle and pulling candy out. Like, what are we doing?
But
We're
people
using
lose their
Meemaw as a
minds
crutch.
flying. I mean, we were, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's just like when you could rent a special needs person to go to Disney World with you so you could get on all the
Oh, that's
rides first.
terrible.
That was actually an industry that you could
That's
do that.
so
You could
bad.
rent somebody to go with you, and finally
I am
Disney
so
figured it out,
pissed
put
that
a
I didn't
stop
come
to
up
Now,
with
it.
that.
now there
Oh
is
my
something wrong
gosh.
with that.
Yeah, I know.
Speaking of
It's
using
all
Meemaw as a
bizarre.
crutch, I'm gonna have to tell y'all sometime about when the boys were growing up and we're working on vocabulary words. Granny was my go-to. So I would it was Granny and a truck stop, and there were strippers and all kind of things, but it helped the boys remember their vocab words. Like they never got less than 100 on those. So using Granny as a crutch, this is critical. So I'll have to pull some of those out. Um,
1-800 rent a down. I like that idea.
yeah. Oh no, no. We had moved
Too
on to Granny.
far.
I thought you were gonna
Uh,
rent a Granny.
All right, the
Yeah,
over
I'm
under on
still.
us getting canceled is like episode 3 now.
It's going up. It's going up.
Have a look. That is so
I've
bad.
got a couple good little stories for next time. Maybe a little noodling adventure that
Oh,
took
I
place
no,
this past
you need
weekend.
this one's fresh. You got to tell this story. You got time, or we need to hold it.
We have time? No, I think we need to hold that. I've got maybe we do a whole animal episode because I've got noodling and also I have a good taxidermy story that mixed into some business. So that's we'll probably do an
Yeah.
animal focus. I'm sure you'll have some animal stories.
Oh, absolutely. Tons of them. My favorite airport story ever, though, was, and we'll wrap it up with this one on this episode. But my favorite airport story is we are sitting there waiting to board a plane, and it's typical. The plane's a little bit late. People are getting a little anxious. Everybody's starting to rumble. People are standing for no apparent reason, and they come over the speaker and say, folks, I'm sorry, we were getting pushed, but we are going to have to we're going to have to delay this flight because we're going to have to find a new pilot because our pilot that is scheduled for this flight does not feel she is feeling well enough to fly this plane. And you should have heard the people going, "Oh, that's bullcrap. That's ridiculous." I mean, people were angry. I mean, verbally, non-verbally angry. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I'm good with this. If
Yeah,
she doesn't feel like she can
I don't want to
safely fly
die.
this plane, I'm good. I can wait another 15 minutes in the airport or 30 minutes, whatever it's going to take. Good Lord. But people were losing their minds. And I was like,
Yeah.
holy cow.
Yeah. The airplane may be one of the
This one
best
crept up,
places
and
left where you actually see people's true colors.
Well,
Barty,
true colors, that's an
Barty,
understatement. You should see the outfits they wear. Good Lord. It used to
oh
be, I
yeah,
mean, it used to be when you got on, but when you were flying, you made an effort. I mean, you did. You made an effort. I mean, you made sure you had on like khaki pants, maybe a coat. I mean, hell, I mean, you actually made an effort. And now we've swung to the opposite where you try to look as ridiculous as possible, and therefore you're ready to fly.
Yeah.
well,
That reminds me of,
I think there's ridiculous and like bedroom slippers and pajamas and whatnot, but there needs to be a general code for who's allowed to wear leggings and who is not. I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
you're basically butt ass naked walking down through the terminal, showing lumps I didn't know places had lumps, and
Yeah.
I mean, you're not qualified to wear the leggings. Sorry.
yeah, looking like
Well,
a walking bag of nickels. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. There should be a
Something like
sign
that.
in the airport that says, dress for the body you have, not the body you want. Um, there's a big
yep.
difference, but somebody needs to sit these girls down and tell them, hey, listen, you can't leave the house in that.
Well, and one of my philosophies in life is there's two types of people in the world. There are those that know how to wear blue jeans, and there are those that do not know how to wear blue jeans. And I'm not going to decide which is which. Leggings just
Yep.
take it to a whole nother level. I mean, at least you can hide some with blue jeans. Good gosh.
Yeah, there
It's
ain't
just
no
some
hiding.
some stuff people shouldn't know.
And with that, we
Just some
That
will
rhymes.
things
leave that
people
That rhymes.
shouldn't
wisdom.
know.
That rhymes with
Right.
camel toe.
Ah, it does indeed.
You had to
Wow,
go
we
there.
ended with a poem. Love it.
All right.
It was an
Well, drop
animal. It's a play
shocker.
on the animal. Yeah.
Yeah. Enjoyed it,
Drop
gentlemen.
shocker. Enjoyed it, guys. All
Have a
right.
good
Yeah.
Until
time.
next
Next
week.
time.
See
See
you
ya.
later.
Toodaloo.
You have survived another episode of the What the Podcast. The views and opinions shared here are not the views and opinions of the sponsors. Tell your friends. Or don't. We don't care.